Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GGTV. We're back with another video. We are late night recording. I gotta quickly get this video out for you guys because I gotta go to bed. I got work in the morning. But we are here with you, the 7th episode. We have Everythingship, and man oh man, it's a bit of a cool down period. I'm not gonna lie. It's not as entertaining, it's not as eventful as the last 2 episodes of the series. But hey, we still got a decent amount to talk about. Something crazy kind of fucking happens. Yeah, we'll have to see what's next for Joe. So let's get into it. The very cringy title of this episode, which is Everythingship, obviously it has a meaning, should have warned me. I should have been prepared. But after last episode, I was allowing myself to feel kind of hopeful for this episode. Hope that the series was going to embrace its inherent absurdity and willful ridiculousness. Hope that, given the choice between something kind of logical but 100% boring or something questionably possible but definitely compelling, you would always veer towards the latter, like Joe's stolen inherited car at that tree. But alas, the dominant emotions are existential dread and disappointment here with this episode. So I regret to inform you that You introduces a bunch of potentially exciting, juicy developments in this episode, only to abandon them for beigey, blah efforts at almost realism. I wasn't that big of a fan of this episode, I'm not going to lie to you. So, see, Joe thinks Beck is cheating on him with her therapist, which is an absolutely ridiculous accusation that, without proof, can be very fucking dangerous for a relationship, and yes, it goes that far. It is very important to note here that her therapist is John Stamos with a beard, pretty much. Knowing as we do that Beck has a deeply unhealthy relationship with her own dad, remember she refers to accepting money from him in exchange for time together as whoring, which is ridiculous, and has, as Peach accurately noted shortly before she was murdered, rest in peace to Peach obviously, this is the first episode where she's not present, a desperate, unhealthy need for attention. This seems like an insane but also plausible in the You world turn of events. It's pretty much John Stamos with a beard, though, so let's get into it. But no, it's just Joe's dopey insecurity gnawing at his barely existent soul. Like, does this guy even have a fucking soul, or is he just there like a fucking robot programmed to go after Beck and pursue her? And yeah. In reality, Beck just needs space because her best friend just died by suicide, or so she thinks, and is feeling smothered by Joe's obsessive, performative, always there for you deal. Like, she needs some space, you need to get away, Joe, okay? It's very understandable. You lose a friend. This is a childhood friend, someone you've leaned on for your entire life, financially, emotionally, every which way. Maybe even physically at times. So in order to see how Joe and Beck's relationship has taken the extremely basic trajectory from super into each other to not really feeling it anymore, we are forced to watch this insufferable couple be coupley to better grasp how far they've fallen. Beck gives an Instagram of them the caption, the hashtag Joe and Beck Dream Team, so there's coupley for you. All the while, Joe details the bliss he once felt with Ronaldo to John Stamos. He has to fucking act like he has a boyfriend to cover up the story and to cover up the fact, hey, my girlfriend is going to you, well, ex-girlfriend as of now, is going to you as a client. So, yeah, John Stamos both records these sessions and gets stoned during them, which is a bit of a red flag as a therapist. I think you should kind of see that and be like, okay, something's fucking wrong. This guy's a little too casual. This guy's a little too informal to be a therapist. But Beck got fired from her yoga instructor job because she fell asleep while she was teaching a class. Again, this reminds us that Beck is mediocre at best at everything she does, but Joe does not see it that way. He doesn't want her to see herself as that way. He wants to give her kind of a boost of confidence. And because Joe is about as good at dating as he is at committing murders, which is not very, he thinks the solution to this problem is to hire Beck himself. Oh, let's work. Like, yeah, that's a good idea. A fucking couple working at the same job. That always ends well, doesn't it? Geez, so now he is her boyfriend and her boss, even though he should know, based on all available evidence, that Beck is a trash employee. What makes you think she can do well in a bookshop when she can't even stay awake for a yoga class? So, as Joe tells it, this did force me to confront some slightly careless aspects of his, well, Ronaldo, Beck's personality, like how the biggest part of Beck's job is to put books on shelves, and she can't do it. There's simple things in life that Beck is being told to do as a job, and she can't even do it. Let's give the floor to Ethan, shall we? Beck is terrible, Joe. She's always late. She leaves the register open. She doesn't know how to organize by genre. Literally, Beck is getting her MFA right now because she wants to be a writer, and the girl can't organize books by subject matter. For the love of God, what is going on here? How does that even make sense? So Joe, Ethan explains, is caught up hard in the tilt-a-whirl of Punani, which, depending on your taste in boardwalk attractions, is a very good thing or a gross nightmare. But shitting where you eat just leads to confusion and E. coli, which is an awesome note. Can we nominate Ethan for the Nobel Peace Prize for his great hunk of wisdom? I mean, this is a smart fucking dude. He is very socially aware of this situation. So when Joe confronts Beck about her horrendous work performance, she whines at him that he promised the hours would be flexible and she'd have time to write. But she hasn't wrote. Joe points out that she is not in fact writing. It's kind of fucking funny because he's exposing her as her boyfriend, and it's true. So thinking about writing is a part of the process, she wails. She has been having vivid dreams about Peach. Joe probably feels threatened by this. And anyway, the only good thing in my life right now is therapy. So, I mean, how does Beck afford therapy? That's a whole different conversation for another video. But the sheriff who pulled Joe over in Greenwich calls the bookstore, by the way, but Joe speedily concocts a cover story to align with his first cover story, and it seems like that will be the end of that. That will close that storyline. I would have kind of liked to see that kind of develop into something, but whatever. Until they find his piss in a jar. Some suspense there. That storyline, I guess, is still in the air. Realizing that she is being awful, Beck throws a candlelight dinner for Joe in the basement of the bookstore, where she is not supposed to be, and where any one of her candles could turn those priceless pages to ash. So I guess kind of unintentionally, Beck fucks up while trying to do good. Yeah, that's just Beck for you right there. She explains her grief with a convoluted metaphor about a Little Mermaid sleeping bag that got fungus. Like, okay, whatever. Then Beck lays a girlfriend trap so classic, maybe iconic, they should chisel it in marble and display it at the entryway of the Museum of the Girlfriends. She tells Joe she really, truly does not want him to do anything for her birthday. Keep it simple. It's funny. It's funny you're watching this because this is just attention seeking. You know, you kind of have to sit back and pause the episode and be like, what the hell? You stand up, you stare at the ceiling. Wow. Right on cue, Joe sees Beck's friend Lynn, who informs him that whole point is to pretend you don't want anything because you're a cool girlfriend, not a regular girlfriend, and then watch your boyfriend show up in some thoughtful, above and beyond way, and you go, you shouldn't have, but you don't really mean it. That's the whole kind of rundown of what Beck is doing. She wants low-key. Joe insists, blind and helpless. Dude, Beck's a Sagittarius, Lynn says. She craves attention. She advises a party where everyone comes dressed as their favorite literary character, and I think it's a mean thing to do in this situation because if it's going to be a surprise, then Beck will be the only person at her party who isn't wearing a costume, so that doesn't really work, but they go with it. But anyway, she convinces Joe, would you rather do something and be wrong or do nothing and be wrong? Lynn also says, if I bury my sorrows in any more booze and boys, I'm going to get syphilis. Again, some pretty funny character moments for Lynn here. So Joe dresses up as Ernest Hemingway because of course he does. Beck shows up 40 minutes late because of course she does. Ethan and Bliff have this immediate romantic connection which I did not see coming, but I can kind of get behind it, and I think it's really good for both of these characters on the show. But back to our lovebirds. Beck arrives just in time to overhear Joe calling her selfish and rude, which she is, to an extent. But she is in no mood for constructive criticism. I said, quiet and small, she whisper yells. Beck does not even have a good alibi. She pretends to have forgotten her own birthday. Also, she is already drunk. Joe demands to see her phone and Beck calls his bluff. If you do this, it means there's absolutely no trust between us, and if we don't have trust, we have nothing. She leaves before the cake is served, but is at Joe's place in the morning with an apology donut. Of course. Always coming back. You know. Joe caves and hugs her. But it's all ruined now, and these kids have gone from being that annoying, boring, happy couple to that annoying, boring, sad couple that bickers over what takeout to get. Joe cannot get visions of Beck and the therapist out of his mind, so he tells her when she says she's going to class. He sees her put on red lipstick, which, as we know, is code for heathen mouth, and then he gets caught. Beck dumps him right there in the street. Like, you're not gonna, that's the final straw. You're not gonna fucking stalk me. Like, that's just not gonna happen, buddy. Like, come on, what are we doing? But John Stamos, the bearded therapist, responds to this information by saying there are two people inside Joe, a hopeless romantic and a betrayed, helpless soul, and he gives Joe a doodle illustrating this point. Joe's like, thanks but no thanks. Like literally every man on earth who definitely need therapy, Joe believes he cannot possibly benefit from therapy. Everyone just pushes it to the side and thinks it's placebo. But I think the therapist was trying to tell you something there, Joe, and you kind of brushed him off. So after Stamos heads home for the night, Joe breaks into his office. His office. Really, the therapist doesn't password protect the laptop where he apparently stores recordings of all of his sessions. Come on now, what are the show creators thinking with this? This is absurd. Joe listens to Beck's sessions and learns that the explanation for their breakup is as dull as she is. The more you want me, the less I want you. Beck says she would tell her boyfriend where he's sitting there beside her. I'm hiding what a complete ugly mess I am. I mean, are you though? I don't know, man. Joe realizes the error of his paranoia and makes the valiant, if totally unnecessary, step of bashing her phone with a mallet. Just wipe it clean and sell it. He's very dramatically letting her go. He admits his jealousy, paraphrases her therapy session back to her, and walks away. He returns to therapy after all, which is not a bad idea, though I'm not sold on Stamos' credentials since this session involves talking about how he lost his virginity to Hungry like the wolf. I mean, I guess you have to have fun somewhere in therapy. I don't know. Joe returns home all moody and dejected to find Karen in the hallway. God, this hallway, man, it always represents something. It always, you sense something. Karen is friends with the stairwell urchin's mom, and Ron is back in the picture, so she's been prowling around with a baseball bat trying to keep her friend safe. She sees Joe's broken heart, yet intact cheekbones, and just flings herself at him. After they have sex, she says, I love you, Joe, just to fuck with him. This is the best part of the episode, and this is the wildest part of the episode, and this is a moment where the show really takes a wild risk, and you go on a wild journey with this one. Then hallucination, Candace returns. Are you going to leave Beck alone, or will she end up like me? Clearly, the show wants us to think that Joe killed Candace. I mean, do we believe that? I kind of think it would be more interesting if she were alive but was completely insane in some spooky gothic horror asylum somewhere that she could break out of to stalk Joe, and the predator becomes the prey. But also, maybe she was just dead in the ditch and not even in Europe, just like a regular American ditch. Maybe Joe made some things up. But yeah, that is going to do it for the episode. There's very interesting things kind of progressing and kind of moving forward for this show. Obviously, the breakup between Joe and Beck is a huge deal because that relationship really carried the show. So I'm really interested in what direction. I kind of don't even, it's really awesome in a show when you don't really expect the direction they're going with this one, and that is me right now, because I don't know what the hell they're going to do now. There's some corny reconciliation. That's probably the worst thing they could do. It's possibly something that's crossed their minds as creators, and I don't know if they're going to do that. Sorry for my yapping. Jesus Christ, I've been talking forever. But I'm out. I got to get these clips together. Got to post them for you guys because got to go to bed. I got work tomorrow, man. I'm trying to get money, trying to pay off this car. Trying to buy that new NCAA football game, which videos are coming soon for that. But tomorrow we're going to be doing a review of the movie Hell House LLC, which is funny because someone on the channel in the comments actually recommended that show at a time, that movie, and funny enough, it popped up on the Scratch It poster, so here we are. Peace out, everyone.